Hello friends and welcome back to House of Props. Sorry I've been gone for a while, but I was doing tech for a show and then ended up getting sick. But I finally managed to make it back and finish a project I've been working on for a while. This is Aeglos Gil-Galad spear. It's 3D printed and it's 9 feet long. Let me show you the process. Once the pieces were finished printing, I began to remove the print lines by using a small hand sander with a 220 grit sanding pad. The sander helps speed up the process. You just need to make sure you don't hold the sander in one spot for too long or it will start to melt the plastic. Now would be a great time to subscribe to this channel so you can be notified about the mini project builds coming down the line. When I'm finished with the hand sander, I go back over the pieces with a 180 grit sandpaper and a 240 grit just to make sure everything is as smooth as possible. On the spear blade, I use the sander where I can, but these areas will need more attention with hand sanding. To reach in around all the vine detail, I'm using this smooth sanding tip on my rotary tool. This works great for all these hard to reach places. You just need to watch how much pressure you use. If you press too hard, you will start to create grooves in the plastic. With everything sanded, it was time to assemble. I began by using a 5-foot 4-inch long piece of 1/2-inch PVC pipe as the support for the spear shaft. You can adjust the overall spear length by adding more or removing some of the center pieces if you want to. But if you use everything that comes with the file, you'll end up with a spear that's just a little over 9 feet long. I squeeze some E6000 into the 3D printed shaft piece and then insert the PVC pipe. Then, to attach the printed pieces together, I use a few drops of CA glue where they meet and just push the pieces together and wipe away any of the glue that may squeeze out around the seam. The spear blade is assembled the same way, but with 3 pieces of 1/4-inch dowel as supports. The length of the pieces are listed with the file package and below. If I had used a solid dowel as the support, it would need to bend, and the bending would apply unnecessary pressure to the seams, so it was better to split it into 3. To fill the seams, I generously apply this glazing and spot putty to both the blade and the shaft with a palette knife and wait for it to dry. This stuff is toxic, so make sure you have good ventilation when you use this. When the putty was dry, which took about an hour, I smoothed it with the 180 and the 240 grit sandpapers. The putty does shrink slightly as it dries, so you may find you need to apply a second layer and repeat the sanding. Once the gaps are smooth, I use a 2-in-1 filler and sandable primer. This will help in the journey to getting a smooth surface in order to get a smooth finish. After the coat has dried, I sand the surface with the sandpapers. Then I spray and repeat the process 2 more times, that is 3 coats in total. This might seem excessive, but it's worth it in order to get a finish like polished steel. After the third sanding, I use a glossy black spray paint on the blade part only. By using a gloss like this, it will help the metallic really shine later. After 2 coats of the black, I spray the spear's blade with a bright coat metallic silver. Yet again, 2 coats will give good coverage and brilliant shine. When the silver has dried, I brush some gold enamel along the vine filigree. I found I needed to apply 3 layers of the enamel in order to make it really visible. For the spear's shaft, I based the entire rod in a burnt umber. By using this as the base, it will help give us a deep, dark, aged wood. Then I mix some burnt sienna with a little white and dry brush this along the length of the shaft in order to create a wood grain effect. If you get hot spots like this, don't worry, these will be toned down with the next step. When the wood grain is dry, I make a black wash and brush this along the length. This will tone down the wood grain and start making the shaft look more like a really dark old piece of wood and not plastic. When all the paint is completely dry, I spray both the blade and the shaft with a clear varnish. This will help protect the paint layers from any scraping or damage. And then the blade can be glued to the shaft with the E6000. And there you have it, a 9-foot long Aeglos Gil-Galad spear with a smooth blade and vine filigree. 9 feet doesn't seem like it's that large, but let me tell you, when this thing is assembled, it is huge, which is awesome. I hope you liked this build. If you did and would like to make one of these for yourself, you can find a link to the file package in the below description. And please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to House of Props. And remember, if you are building any of my builds or using any of my templates, feel free and tag me at House of Props on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, because I would really like to see your fantastic work. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.